Do you need more golfers, or are you looking for more non-golfers? How about just some added revenue? Well, you've come to the right place. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to the Indoor Golf Alliance World Forum. We're so excited that you could join us today. Our mission here at the Indoor Golf Alliance is to build indoor golf for a stronger future. And we do this through education, through information, through networking, through webinars just like this. And we want to hear from you. We want to hear what you need, what you want to hear about. And that's how we design these webinars. And we did a survey and we got a lot of feedback on what you want to hear. And that's how we came up with today's topic. And that is marketing and promotion indoor golf facilities. So we have a lot of indoor facilities online today, and we hope that this information is helpful. And if there's something that we don't cover, something that we don't get in depth with, please always feel free to reach out to us. Let us know what your needs are, what specific topics we can go in more depth, because we have a whole lot of information for you. So today's webinar, we're going to talk about how to promote your property. We're going to get into several areas, defining your goals, what works and what does not work. What are some proven marketing ideas? How do we go outside of just golfers and find additional people? And then how do we measure success? And I couldn't do this by myself. We're very, very excited to have two great experts in the industry that are here to share with you some of their insight and some of their tips. Kyle Morris, the owner of Golf Room, one of the largest indoor golf facilities in the United States. And he has a lot of great stories and going to be sharing some in-depth information with us today. And then we have Chris Austin, who is a chief marketing officer, worked with major brands like Disney, Norwegian Cruise Lines, and so many other big ones. I'm your host, Phil Immordino. I've been in the golf business for 40 years, so we know about promotions and marketing, and we're here to share those with you today. Guys, welcome. Glad you could make it.
What's up, Mr. Phil? How are you? How's your day
Good,
going?
good. Well, I'm doing great. Although, we always brag about Arizona weather, but
Yeah.
actually today it's rainy and cold, so I don't know what that's about. But in
Yep.
Arizona, we have a slogan, if it's raining, just wait a minute, and it'll be great. Hey, gang, before we get into our content, I just want to really share with you where have we come from? How fast is this indoor golf industry growing? And I want you to know kind of a little bit of the past. So back in 1900, believe it or not, there were parlor games. There were putting mats and mechanical devices indoors. So technically, that was the start of indoor golf. And then from 1920 to 1950, there were mechanical devices developed to analyze your swing, mainly used for instruction. And then we started getting after it. 1960 to 1980, you saw the first simulators coming on board with radar. Screens were developed, again, mainly for instruction. And then from 1990, the digital era occurred. True Golf and high definition created 3D graphics, and they're still blowing and going today. In 2000, technology improved, prices started to come down, making it more affordable for homeowners. And then 2010 to 2020, global growth took a huge leap. Very popular with entertainment, with lessons, league, corporate outings. And today, in the 20s, it's a boom. It's very much commercial popularity, advanced technology. It's officially mainstream. We've come a long way over the last 125 years. So it's fun to see. And the industry's growing, still grows. So just to kind of give you an idea of where we are today, there are 3,000 commercial locations, 2,000 golf courses with some type of indoor, either simulator or driving range. 6 million golfers have played simulator golf, $1.2 billion industry. There are 6 million households that have some type of simulator in their home. 20 major simulator manufacturers, tons of new software developers, and the industry is growing 9 to 10% a year. Just yesterday, I saw online on social media a new indoor golf that you don't even need to hit the golf ball, just take a swing. Soon we'll be able just to be able to think it. We won't even have to swing or hit a ball. I wish I had that today with my golf swing. But bottom line is that, gang, we have an industry that's growing and it's exciting to see, and you are on the front lines, and we're here to help you. Now, I'm just going to remind you, most of you know this, especially if you were on our last webinar, just the different uses for indoor golf. And and there's so many applications, and I know a lot of you know these, but the reason I bring them up is I want you to think outside the box. I want you to get creative because we're not all about just one local facility. Some of you are thinking about expanding. Some of you be thinking about partnerships and working with the local community, which we're going to talk about. But obviously, very popular with residential. There's a lot of, like I mentioned, 3,000 indoor golf centers. There's sports bars that are putting in simulators. There are entertainment centers, rec centers, condos, golf and country clubs, hotels, resorts, club fitters, special events, a lot of rental companies these days. And then I've seen them really pop up at trade shows. So a lot of uses in a lot of ways that you can be thinking about expanding. But I brought on two experts, guys, to share way beyond what I know, and I'm excited to hear from them. So the topic today is marketing. Marketing matters more than ever before. And so I'd love to hear from Chris's first expertise. He's been with a major ad agency for over 25 years, and Chris knows what marketing is. So, Chris, why don't you tell us a little bit about your views on what is marketing and why it's so important?
Well, I'll start before marketing. I'll start with brand, and brand is the thing of who you are, and it's your kind of DNA as an organization. Marketing then is how you communicate that brand out to the world and speak to your audience. Brand is not a logo, and marketing isn't necessarily an ad. It's the larger, both are kind of the larger picture of things, but we get the first part wrong sometime in understanding who we are as a brand, as a company, and then that second part is more what everyone thinks it is, with ads and kind of strategic planning to go out and get golfers in the door.
And I noticed that the definition in Webster's is marketing is the activity for promoting your business, selling products or services, including market research and advertising. And the big word that stuck out to me was it's a noun. In other words, do something. We've got to do something. We can't open our doors and expect people just to flood the gates just because we're now online, or, we had a flyer, distributed in the neighborhoods. We have to go above and beyond, which is exactly what we're here to talk about today. The other thing is why it's so important for the future. Christian, you can elaborate this. Again, you're going to have some competition. Let's face it, a lot of these folks are and facilities are popping up all over the place. A lot of it's about education. We have to teach the community what you are and what you're all about. And then once you connect, which I'm excited to hear Kyle's perspective on connecting and loyalty and building that customer and keeping them around. Kyle, you've built it from the ground floor. I'm really excited about hearing how you'd even began to put a business plan together and started setting goals. And what did that look like, and how did you get rolling with that?
Well, I think first and foremost, Phil, when I started the golf room in 2016, which started in the back of a CrossFit gym with one bay, and now then it went from 2 bays to 3 bays to 6 bays to 7 bays to now 12. If you would have asked me in 2018 about marketing, no offense, Chris, I would have said it's the stupidest thing ever. And I was like, what in the heck is marketing? And that's because I had no clue what I was talking about. I remember distinctly, Phil, a company came in, I won't name them, and they're like, hey, we're going to run some ads like for you. I was like, okay, I guess. And I was like, they're like, we're going to build like a landing page based upon the ad. I was like, no, just send them to my homepage. And like, that's what you do, just so I can like, they can see all the cool stuff I have. They're like, that's not how this works. I'm like, you don't know how this works. This is how it works. And we did it. It didn't work. And of course they were right. But then since then in 2019, I was like, I actually want to dive into this as an entrepreneur, because now understanding business, marketing essentially is the engine in which a business lives and dies. So I have become, to say the word obsessed is there's probably not a strong enough adjective, but I mean, I am like, if I go on vacation, I'm reading marketing and sales books. Like, It is everything to a business. And to your point, I think what you had illustrated about 10 minutes ago of like, unfortunately, in our industry, it's like, okay, I'm going to open a facility, have a website, and people will just show up, right? And it's like, no, that's not how this works. So, I would say that marketing, if there was an area that an entrepreneur should dive into and become an expert, this is one of them.
Absolutely. So when defining your goal, Chris, you had said earlier, you got to create a brand. You've got to identify who you are, and obviously we know that there's several areas for facilities. One is entertainment, focused, which is leagues and parties and bar and lounge. And then we also have a big part of it, which is instruction focused. And then some are a hybrid, which, do it all. What would you say is the difference in really focusing your goals when it comes to these three categories? And start off, Kyle, tell us the difference.
Well, I think the big thing of like understanding the goals, I think the first thing that the business owner, or even if there is a simulator manufacturer that's getting into the industry, the very first thing that the entrepreneur or the company owner or the marketing department, what they need to do is they need to identify who they are actually marketing to. They have to identify the avatar in which they're marketing. So I really like to create the avatar and basically create it like as it's a human being. So it's like my avatar is, Alan Smith, and he's 44 years old. He's got 3 kids. He makes $182,000. He does this in jobs. Like, this is how many rounds he plays. So what you're doing is you're creating the avatar in which who do you actually want to market to? If you're marketing to everyone, you're marketing to no one. So like you want to be, I would much rather, Phil, spend, let's just say $10,000 marketing to 100 people that I know those 100 people would buy compared to marketing to 500,000 people that I don't even know if any of them will buy. So like really identifying who your who is or your avatar is really, really important. And you should have those avatars across the board. So to the points of the leagues in the entertainment industry compared to say the player development facility, those are different avatars, right? And you can't market to one and the like. You got to figure out who are you marketing to and who are you serving. So that would be like the very first step, in my opinion, of trying to figure out your marketing plan is who in God's name are you actually marketing to, right? Because you can't just market to everybody.
Yeah, so but first step is who you are and then identifying your demographics and going after that market. If you're an instructional facility, you want to go after serious golfers. If you're an entertainment facility, you want to go after families and corporations and let's just have some fun.
Yeah, and the more specific you can make it, the better. Because the
Right.
way, especially if you start using paid advertising with Meta and all these different platforms and Google Ads and stuff, you can get really, really specific, and you
Yeah,
can basically drop your ad in front of their nose. And then the offer is good enough, the fish bites.
makes sense. Chris, you
I also
mentioned,
want to I want to toss in here with your audience identified one way to think about it, or the best way to think about it, and the most successful facilities that I see, you're building a community around your brand, around your facility, around everything you do. So if you think about it that way, it is not only bringing people into the community, but it is also engaging with the community that you've built. And it's a lot better way to think about it than customers and clients and an audience avatar. That's how you start. But I think the end goal is to build a community of people who know and love the brand and the experience that you deliver. And I see that with what Kyle's done with the golf room for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
relationship.
to reiterate that point, Chris, I 100% agree that you obviously bring the guy or girl in, but ideally, once they're there, they're staying because they love it there because of the brand and the engagement in which the brand is engaging with the customer. So it's like, this is my place. These are my people. Like, this is who I play golf with,
Definitely.
who I drink with. This is who I work out with, whatever the business model is. But that makes it when you have community and you have that stickiness, the pain to disconnect is way harder. My son, Chris, was on a soccer team. He was 9 years old and the team wasn't good. And we were like, we're not leaving because we like the parents. So your team's just going to suck because we like hanging out with the parents at the soccer tournaments, which just goes to show like the community
Yeah.
aspect of it is what makes people like continue to stay and how they are getting engaged with everything that that brand represents. So
It's
100%
a
agree.
family. You're building a family. Chris, you mentioned something about brand awareness. I want to know the difference between brand awareness and customer acquisition. There's one thing to get your name out there and have image, but there's another thing to get that customer. Chris, why don't you address that if you can?
I think it comes down a lot to how you're marketing, and there's a way to do customer acquisition that's very transactional, and there's a way to do it that's an invite and come into the facility or come into the community, and it's a lot of these days. Think of it as the content that you're posting to social or your website versus a meta ad that's very like get a get a rent a bay for an hour. Those are one's transactional and one's a personal invite, and it ends up looking, one is promoting the brand, which is going to fuel the marketing. One is a pure marketing activity. Not that it's bad and you need to do both, but I think it's what is this message, this ad, this PR pitch, whatever it is. Is this more something that's going to build brand? Is this more that's something that's going to acquire customers? And just thinking through that before you go through with whatever the initiative is.
Makes sense. So you may have a really good month. Let's say it's the holidays and families are in, and you have a really great month. But all of a sudden it drops off. I know in the golf business it's seasonal, so you can have a good month, but the goal here is to be consistent long term. So what would be the difference, Kyle, between short term promotions and but keeping these customers long term and build that family loyalty you talked about?
I would call it like quick. I would kind of define it as like quick wins versus a term that maybe we'll get into in a little bit called lifetime value. So, a quick win for me is something like they're basically just steroid shots into the thing because you like want to make a quick buck. So, like Black Friday, like we've got promotions going, but like, like, okay, like we'll do it and we'll make 25 grand with the promotions. And it's like, but that's not going to like sustain the business. Or maybe like we do a golf school and it's, 3 days and it's $7,000. Like those are quick wins that basically will fuel the bottom line of revenue. But that's not how a business is really built, right? The business is really built upon the customer coming, kind of like what we were talking about a minute ago. Like they're coming again and again and again and again and again. So like if you look at facilities like Top Golf, right? I think the average user per year goes to Top Golf 1.2 times a year, right? Like that's not a whole lot of lifetime value. Whereas we want our clients coming like 2, 3, 4 days a week, 12 months a year. So that's where understanding what your lifetime value is relative to what the customer can spend. So it's kind of like, think of the lifetime value for those not understanding a little bit. We'll get into this, but it's like the total amount of money spent. That's a much more important parameter for me. And I'm always working and thinking on a marketing dollar between this idea of your cost to acquire a customer and your LTV. And I think that Chris alluded it very, very great in the fact that you really have two types of marketing, right? You have brand marketing, like, hey, let me put a sign up at like a commercial on the Golf Channel or a sign in an Ohio State football game or something that's building brand awareness. And then there is cost to acquire, which is probably everybody in the marketing world, they kind of fall in maybe like one or two. There's a balance between both. As a business owner who's a sole owner, my personal preference is I'm a very big direct marketing guy. And that is simply because of the fact that like it's my money. And if I'm going to spend, I'm not Coca-Cola or like Amazon or Apple. So it's like if I'm going to spend $1,000, I need to know for a fact that I, at least on the front end, I'm going to make $1,001, right? So like I need to make sure that I am not hemorrhaging cash because I don't have an endless supply to spend to have a Super Bowl commercial for branding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think,
Yeah.
but there's definitely a balance between both. in both aspects. But to come back and finalize your question, Phil, I'm very much a believer in lifetime value and thinking about the long-term gains of a player. The short term, like, I don't want to say I don't consider it, but like not really. And unfortunately, in the industry, I think that it's actually the inverse. And people are like, okay, I want to sell a lesson. And I'm like, I want to sell 22 months of lessons. Right. So like,
Absolutely.
it's a completely different way of thinking and selling and talking and articulating and the messaging and the branding and all of that stuff. So we very much talk about a journey here at the golf room. And we basically, to the short-term win, we just nip it at the bud at the beginning. If the guy's like, I want to take 2 lessons, we're like, you probably shouldn't come here. There's like a facility down the street and they would be great to work with for 2 lessons. We actually have no desire to work with you. And they're like, really? And we're like, yeah, because this is how actually you get better. I do
Right.
not get a 6-pack by working out once. That's not how this works. Right. So,
Exactly.
but that's also our avatar.
Right, right, right.
So,
And Kyle, you've seen it from the ground floor. I'm sure that in the beginning you made some mistakes. So give us a couple of things not to do. Let's share with our audience a little bit so they don't make the same mistakes that maybe you made in the beginning.
So I think that probably on a marketing standpoint, the one thing that facilities don't understand is that they haven't, which I did made this mistake at the beginning. They don't know how to and this goes for green grass facilities as well, is they don't know how to make all the different entities of the facility talk to each other. So what I mean by that is, like, take a country club, for example. They don't know how to have the head pro that talks to the fitness guy, that talks to like the guy who's doing the fitting, who's the assistant pro, who then talks to like a seminar that's happening inside the clubhouse, and doing all of these things to have all these different entities talk to each other, so that now you're creating a higher LTV and you're getting the person from the green grass facility to stay on property more, and therefore they spend more because they're there and they're like, you know what, I think I might get a transfusion because I'm here, right? So now the F&B goes up, right? So it's like understanding the customer engagement of like all points of the cycle and having them talk to them. That's one thing that I had to learn. I would be like, hey, you can have a TrackMan membership and then you can do like lessons. And it's like, no, like those should actually be connected, right? Like those should actually talk to each other. Or, and same thing, and you can do all that stuff. It doesn't have to be player development. You can do all of those things and talking to each other inside of even like the entertainment facilities or the 24/7 golf facilities, right? And especially because the market right now, is Phil, is very dominated with these entrepreneurs coming in saying, I'm just going to open a keyless 24/7 practice facility. I go to the point of the engagement of the journey of the customer. I go, we are throwing a TrackMan into bay, but you're just proving to the guy that he sucks. Like,
Right.
just showing him that he doesn't hit it as far as he can, and he lays the sod over and hits 6 inches behind the ball. There's no journey there. So,
Right.
like, they're not educating the customer on what the data means. There's no customer journey of like how they're walking through. Like, they need to make it so that the customer is understanding. So that would be the second point. And then the third point, which is my own personal biasy, right? Chris might be on a different thing, which would be okay. Maybe he's not. I'm not sure. It doesn't make one right or wrong. But just because I was once broke, I needed to make sure that every dollar mattered. So the third piece is really understanding the math. So I had a very, very big company, Phil, come to us. We have an online company where we teach over 50,000 people online, which is a lot. And he was like, hey, you should promote through our business. We're doing a Christmas sale. We're going to send out your email to 1.5 million people, and it's only $5,000. So I was like, that would probably sound pretty good to a lot of people. But I was like, great. Can you tell me the math of these things? What's the open rate? What's the click-through rate? That's really what I want to know. And he goes, hey, it's 1.5 million people. I won't go into the math so people's brains don't break. But it was like, it's 1.5 million people, 32% open. The click-through rate on the email is 0.06%. So under 1%, 0.5%. And then I know that on cold traffic with an audience that doesn't know, the conversion rate on an offer is going to be about anywhere from 1% to 2%. And I was like, this is a terrible business idea. Like, I'm going to make $937. You're asking for $4,000. I'm good. But if you don't know the math, you'd be like, wow, I'm going to send out my stuff to 1.5 million people. That sounds amazing. And it's like, no, that's not a good idea. That's a bad investment.
So I'm hearing two key points there, Chris. One is, and Kyle, communication is key, and watch the numbers, right? The
Know your
data
math.
is crucial.
Know your math.
Yeah, and I
Yep.
would build
Data.
on that and
Most small
agree
business, they don't
Oh,
even
go
know
ahead,
the
Kyle.
data. So you go,
I'm
how much?
sorry.
Most companies don't know the data. So like if you look at like for example, my lifetime value, if you look at a green grass facility or an indoor golf facility, Phil, right? And you have little tiny Tim, right? Who like walks through the golf room right here at 6 o'clock at night. Most facilities are like, oh my God, little tiny Tim, he's 8 years old. Like, I hope he doesn't break anything. Tiny Tim to me is worth $132,000. So if you said, hey, I will give you little tiny Tim, how much will you pay for him? I'd go,
Hmm.
I'll give you $50,000. You go, what? I go, yeah, I'm still going to make 80. I'm good
Yeah,
because I know what the journey is for little tiny Tim. But most facilities, they don't understand little tiny Tim. They're like, I just hope this kid doesn't break anything. But
absolutely.
that is like the most important client at the golf room based upon our who of who we're serving because we know the journey that we are going to make. And at the end, he's spending $18,000 over 6 years. And before that, he's spending $13,000 for 5 years. And before that, he's spending $5,000 for 3 years. So it's like that revenue, but that's because we have the journey that's mapped. So it's understanding the math is really important.
And I apologize. I should have had this up there while you were talking, Kyle, but share a little bit about the wheel. This is famous, world famous. A lot of people have enjoyed this information. Do you want to add to what you just said
Yeah, I
and
mean,
share what the wheel means?
essentially what it is, right, is like at the top of this engagement flywheel, which is what Chris and I are trying to talk about. It's all about this, like what's called this LTV to CAC ratio. So it's the lifetime value of a customer versus the cost to acquire a customer. How much would you pay for a customer to come into your room that you know that you could that ends up buying or that you know that you can convert? So like we convert our new student assessments at 52%. Right. So I know what I'm willing to pay to acquire a customer, and then I know what that customer is worth. So, in the business, to create a business that is holistic and does not rely on seasonal revenue, which is really, really important because a lot of people in the indoor industry, which I was there, they basically, when I first started, I opened the golf room in November. I had it open till May, and I literally, Phil, would lock the door from May to October. I would take a key, I would lock it up, and I would leave. And I was like, this isn't a good business model. I'm just a self employed business owner. This is like
Mm.
slavery. This is miserable. So I had to figure out how do I make it to where these customers are here 12 months a year spending money all the time. So these indoor facilities that are 4 or 5 bays, they're like, I'm like, hey, how's it going? And they're like, it's going okay. I'm making like $200,000. I'm like, I had a 5,000 square foot facility or a 5 bay facility and made $2.4 million. So obviously there is a difference between what you're doing and what can be done. And what can be done is all in part of this engagement flywheel, which today what we are talking about is enticing. How do we entice our people to come to our facilities to spend more money? And then it goes into engagement, like how, like Chris kind of mentioned a little bit of this of like the brand, like how are they answering the phone, the customer service, how's it look, how's it smell, how's it taste, like how are we engaging with the customer after we have gotten that lead? Then it's empowering them so that they understand the journey that they're on, equipping them with the resources that they actually need to fulfill their unique God-given design, encouraging them in their journey because of the fact that getting better at golf is hard, whatever the journey, whether it's entertainment or player development. And then finally, when you master all 5 of those, you have the ability then to expand, which is how I was able to go from 1 bay to 2 to 3 to 6 to 7 to 12. And then we're going to be at max capacity again in May, which I don't know what I'm going to do. This is as big as I'm going at 17,000 square feet. So this is all I got. But that's kind of like my whole business consulting, which is what I do a lot now, Phil, is like helping entrepreneurs really scale their revenue so that they can, you know, make more money and go on vacations and still get paid.
Well, and that's exactly the ultimate goal is to build a successful business where you don't have to stress out and worry about closing the doors in May, right? So
Yeah.
you clearly have proven what works, and so a lot of folks have a lot to learn from you. Uh, So I'm excited for that. So, you both talk about social media, and I know that Chris is an expert on this. Chris, let's take a few minutes just to talk about social media and what does that mean? What does that look like? Why should we become experts in social media, and what would that look like?
Well, I think one of the mistakes, going a couple slides back to set this up, one of the mistakes that people make is they don't do the basics, and they don't do the blocking and tackling, to mix our sports metaphors. Social media is free from a cost standpoint, but it is a opportunity cost in that it takes a lot of time and effort. The most important thing is that you post consistently. And it's going to be rough in the beginning. You're going to get 2 likes, you're going to get 3 likes, and no one's going to be there listening to you. But if you're consistent, it will pay off. It's one of a dozen things that don't cost a lot of money that you should put a lot of effort to in the beginning, so that you kind of build an asset. And every one of these platforms is an asset for you. I would also say, as well as email, which is one of your most important assets, and a lot of facilities don't use email properly, or don't capture an email or even a phone number for texts, SMS marketing in the beginning when they first are acquiring customers. If you look at each of these platforms, I think it's important to know almost all of them, if not all, in one form or another, are video first. And that's vertical video. Video in 2025, 2026 is the language of the internet. You need to be doing video. That doesn't necessarily mean you need your face on camera. It's probably good to have a face for your business, but it doesn't necessarily have to be you. There's a lot of ways you can do this. You can do video without you being on camera, but that's probably another webinar. If we go platform by platform, Instagram, certainly video first. It's great to show events, leagues, kind of show the community and what it feels like, what the experience is like. I would also say maybe a month ago, Instagram was added to Google search results. So you ended up with, so now when you post anything to Instagram, you need to think about the text, because it might show up or it could show up in a Google search answer. If we look at TikTok, this is a little more challenging. I would do it more if you have heavier Gen Z, younger millennials. It certainly skews that way. It's hard to get right, but the beauty of TikTok, it is interest-based. I can go on having never posted and get 100,000 views, versus Instagram, where I might need to build up my views and followers. TikTok, I can have 0 views, but if someone's looking for what is this, and it's used as a search engine, what is a smash factor, I'm going to show up. Doesn't matter if I have 0 followers. It's all interest-based. Facebook, organic is not there like it was, 10 years ago. It certainly is hard to get likes and follows on Facebook, but it is your number one tool from a paid standpoint. Instagram, Meta in general is where you would start with any kind of paid advertising. And but give yourself some slack on the organic side on Facebook, because it's hard to move forward and get any kind of traction on the organic side. So you end up boosting, you end up doing more of the paid ad style. YouTube and YouTube Shorts, great for behind the scenes, how-tos. They're more interest-based. The great thing about YouTube versus some of the other platforms, and like this webinar, it's going to be here in a year on YouTube. That is an annuity that pays off forever. As long as YouTube is there, that video is there, and you're going to see traction come to certain videos that didn't get a lot of love in the beginning that may later on. So think about longevity, and certainly vertical video for short form with YouTube Shorts, and then longer form thing, more instructional, more how-tos, more answering questions for standard YouTube versus YouTube Shorts.
That's huge. Chris
It,
or Kyle, what have you found social media? What works best for you?
So, to illustrate and so first off, to go back on what Chris was saying, I started um, posting in 2017 or 18. And as God is my witness, Phil, I have not missed one day in 8 years.
Wow.
So right now we've got on my handle, I've got about, I don't know, 100,000 people. We have another sister handle for our online program called Dom Swing Reviews, right? So that's like our golf room everywhere one. That one has 100,000. And we do basically, like with the online side, we do, to Chris's point, being free and meta, we do 8 figures online, and none of it's with paid advertising. It's all with organic traffic online. And there's so many different automations with things called, like, companies which these entrepreneurs should look at, with things called mini chats, which are like automations where you can get customers info and you can retarget them and like create dialogues. I mean, there's so many cool things that we could get into, like in the weeds of like how to actually take them from the Instagram stuff all the way into a paid client. But the one layup that I would say for our facilities is that there's two ways of kind of doing Instagram and doing social media from a blocking and tackling standpoint, what Chris was talking about. The first is like you actually block out hours and you are filming for the avatar and the video you are doing. That is one way, and that should be done. The other thing, which I personally do because I run my life in like 4-minute increments, is I basically just document my life, and then my stuff when I'm doing whatever I'm doing, that becomes the content. So for example, I just got off the lesson tee with a guy. That lesson was videotaped. My team will then take that video of the lesson, which is the camera just sitting in the bay, and they will then crop it. And there's different AI technologies that will do it for you, which we use. But basically, it'll crop the video and create and take all of like the cool little punchy hooks and all that stuff, and create the transcriptions and audit, blah 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 blah. And then now you have a library of data. But then what's even more great about it is, to what Chris was saying, like you need to do email, and most people don't do email. And ideally, you should be making $1 per email that you have. So if you have through email. So if I have a database of 12,000 people, I should be making about $12,000 just through my email marketing per month. So the idea is that I will then take the videos that I have on YouTube, like I will take this Zoom one day, right? And we will take the transcriptions, and I will either use, if I want to save money, I can use AI. I also have a copywriter on staff, which will take the videos, and now he will take all of the content and then repurpose that back into emails. So like I'm not having to do anything. I'm just doing my job. Or same thing, like if I do a podcast, like we have a podcast called Stock Shot Secrets, and then a Build a Golf Business podcast. They'll just take those podcast transcripts and then be like, cool, here's emails. So I'm not actually, as the owner, I'm not doing more work. I am just multi-serving this media that I am already doing, and then letting my team extrapolate it and use it in all the different cross promotions that we can without doing more work. No one wants to work more. But it's like, how can you get every single thing out of what you're already doing and then create the media? And to Chris's point, never miss. And the last piece I would say, one last piece is if there's ever something that you can focus on in the social media, is paying really, really close attention to the first 6 to 7 seconds. Because if you can get that viewer to watch past 7 seconds, it has a much better chance of going viral. So it's like, do a video and do a cartwheel with a horse outfit on, and you'll figure out a way to get people to watch the video. Just do something to get them past 7 seconds. And now you can start to build an audience, and they're like, oh my gosh. And then it's all about having the right who, or the charismatic guy on camera that's like, I like to learn from this guy.
We could spend the full hour just on social media, and even more, which we will
For
do
sure.
down the road. But the bottom line, what I'm hearing, guys, is social media is important. Get back to the basics, learn it, and capitalize on your time, and take advantage of every time you speak, write, or give a lesson.
And I
Absolutely.
would add one last thing
Everybody
on
wants.
social media, and that is provide value. So if you're
Value.
showing what you're doing all the time, Kyle's a little different because he's doing instruction. He's providing value. Doesn't have to be every post. You can show the corporate event and the league having fun, but if you're providing value, you've got a viewer or a follower or whatever the metric is on that particular platform.
You're giving to the point. I'm always a very big believer too, Chris, of like always over delivering and delivering trust. So like, if I'm doing for our build the golf business on Instagram, guys will come out and girls and business owners, I mean, they're spending, thousands and thousands of thousands of dollars to be with me. Well, I'm videotaping that and then throwing snippets on social media. So it's like, well, you can just, here you go. Like it's free value and free, right? Like this is a cool win, right? To where then they can get these things. And then on our end, it's building trust to say like, yes, like I am a trusted person that you can then, I'm here to help and serve you any way that you see fit.
Yeah.
So
trust is huge
compared to the person of the indoor facility that's like, here's a social video of like our picture of our league night. It's like, okay, it's the
Kyle,
to that.
How important it is for you to do special events? And do you do many? And give us an example of one.
No. So what's interesting about the golf room, which people don't believe, is we have no F&B and we do very little events.
Okay.
So like if someone's like, he's slaying it, they must do a ton of booze. It's like, we actually don't do any, but it's also my choice because now that I'm against, I love an old fashioned or a glass of wine or whatever, but like, that's just not my avatar. Right. So that's not who we are serving. So but I will say one of the holes in our buckets that we need to fill, which maybe I can call Chris and do this offline to try to figure this out, is trying to we've been doing a better job over the last 6 months, but doing more events. So like having financial planners come in, they sit in the conference room, they present the material to their highest paying network clients for 30 minutes. Like, here's what's happening with the market. Here's a tax thing that we can do and create this LLC for a marketing company and pay the money here and then write it off, blah, 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 blah. And then we send them down on the floor for 90 minutes, where there's a instructor on and yada, yada, yada. It's $5,000. Right. So it's like, hey, that's $5,000 for 2 hours. That's great. And for a B2B sale, they're willing to do that because then we can come in because we know the math and I can help the entrepreneur. I can say, hey, yeah, you're going to spend $5,000 on these 25 clients. What's your LTV of your customer? And they're like this. I'm like, blah, 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 blah. This is like $150,000 added revenue thing for you. $5,000's easy. So I actually help them understand their LTV to CAC. Because I'm the CAC. They're going to pay me to acquire the customer. But it's like, how much is this actually going to help your LTV? And then they're like, oh, this is an easy buying decision.
But can you do special events and corporate outings without food and beverage?
So with the corporate events that we do here, we do bring in outside catering if they want. But you're absolutely right. Like, now unless they invite us at like 9 a.m. And then we've actually got a pretty good spin too, Phil, where we could go into this some other time, not right now, but we've actually done it to where we'll do events and outings in the summer using our TrackMan. And we actually have a pretty good sales pitch that actually makes the event pay us to go. So when how all of us entrepreneurs are like, hey, I've got this charity event for the Ronald McDonald House. Will you sponsor it for $1,000? We're like, let's talk about it. And then we do it. So then we actually end up getting paid $1,000. Plus we get all the people that are in the outing. So now we can then retarget them and then they come in and then they do a student assessment and then we convert 1 out of every 2 and the average price tag is $6,000 and it's like, great. So like, but it's all about like this sales and marketing piece of how to make this thing work.
Chris, what are your thoughts on events and corporate outings and corporate events?
Well, I love the financial advisor example, and it was one I was going to share. It is any kind of professional services sales event or client event is going to bring people that have never been in your facility in. You're getting paid for it, and you're showing 25 people a spot that they might want to come back to, and that's huge. And a lot of those corporate events are going to pay off in more than just the site fee for the night. Other special events, I love anything creative or anything unique beyond your typical league nights are fantastic and they're great for retention. But if you can do anything else that's a challenge, particularly a long-term challenge, and you see this a lot with gym marketing, right? losing weight, increasing your vertical jump, increasing your bench press, like those kind of 90-day challenge type events
Yep.
over the long term are really going to pay off, or a consistent stream of what you have listed here. When we're playing, when the US Opens at a particular course, I want to play that course on the TrackMan, like or whatever the system is. Like that's interesting. If you do it once, it's great. If you just have a habit of doing that, it becomes an expected experience, and I'm engaged throughout the year to try and beat the pro, to try and get the long drive, to try and beat my own long drive, whatever it happens to be. You're looking for one-time engagement, but any way you can pull that into a month-long or seasonal engagement or year-long engagement, that's where the real value is.
Well,
Chris, we
just
did
like
Chris, we did a stock. It was called a stock shot challenge, and it was 5 months to build you a stock shot. It was $3,500, which we sold a bazillion of them, and then we also guaranteed that when we buy your stock shot, I'm also then going to give you $1,000 back, where I would actually write them a cold check, not in like services or credits. Here is $1,000 back into your account for actually winning. So it's
And
kind of
now we can talk offers.
now, yeah, now it's like a whole different thing because it's like, oh my gosh, you're actually going to reward me if I do a good job. It's like, yeah, how about $1,000? And then what do you think they're going to do when they do it? Yes, I gave them $1,000, but now they have a stock shot, and now they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go tell my friends because this was amazing. I
Yeah.
got better, and I got $1,000, and now I probably just got 4 new clients, and I'm happy to pay the $1,000 because I know what my cost to acquire a customer is, and I know what the LTV is. So it's like it all comes back to the math.
And there's no better advertising for this business than having someone that's been in your facility go out and crank one down the middle of the fairway that didn't used to do it.
Yeah.
And there's 3 people in that foursome that are going to come see you.
Yep. Yep. No
just
doubt.
like just like social media, events is an hour-long topic. We're barely scratching the surface, so we're going to have to come back and cover that one. But what I see that is a natural when we talk about special events and corporate events is partnerships with local businesses.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a natural to go out and talk to the businesses, to bring them in to do these special events instead of just doing a standalone special event and inviting the masses. Why not go and partner with local groups and say, let's come in and cater or create or customize a special event just for your group? Have you
Yep.
done much of that, Kyle?
To the point of the special groups, we did the finance, and to what Chris was alluding a little bit. I'm always trying to figure out and wrap my brain with who is trying to sell who. So it's like oral surgeons need to sell dentists because dentists refer the jobs to the oral surgeon. So great. I'm going to go find the oral surgeon to then bring in the dentists. And the oral surgeon is the one who's going to host the event, which is just his way of like whining and dining the guy or the girl so that they do it. Or it's like, speaking on like dental hygiene, it's like they, some, an Invisalign. Invisalign is going to try to get the dentist to sell Invisalign. So it's like, great. Rather than take them to a Columbus Blue Jackets game, bring them here, right? Because most middle tier executives and middle market and middle class and upper class, like they play golf, or at least they have a desire to, right? So it's like, and this is a different event, and there's a lot of talking. So I'm always trying to think, Phil, of like who is trying to sell who, and then I need to go talk to this person.
And that's great thinking. And that opens up Pandora's box because now you start thinking about associations. You've got the associations of oral surgeons, you've got the association of dentists, you've got the association of every single industry out there. And chambers of commerce love to host these events. The associations love to host the events, but what this means is we got to get outside our box and we got to make some phone calls and we got to go meet some of these folks and share a new idea. Give them the idea because most likely they haven't thought about it. So, partnerships, special events are huge if we can think outside of our box.
Yeah, I would look at these too of what can I what value can I provide for them? I think fitness centers, if I've got a trainer that's training golfers at a fitness center, or there's one, if fitness is a part of what you do, going out to fitness centers, doing a special golf program there that can be a moneymaker, but it's definitely going to pull people in as part of the program to get stronger. The indoor facility that I go to by my house has a fitness and instruction program going right now. I think it's how to hit bombs, and it is getting stronger and improving swing speed, and it's focused on that. But that's easily moved to a fitness center that is not part of your organization, and it's kind of a split carry between the customers. And there's things like that, high schools, junior golf, any of those where you can pull youth in because you're going to pull the family in. It's rare that a 10-year-old plays golf and the mom or dad do not. So
the rule
always think about
really
who comes with the first customer, who's coming behind them.
Yeah, it's coming back to like which we have one going right now with a company called Stretch Lab, which is stretching, right? So
Yeah.
like it's the idea of who is serving our avatar, but at the same time we're not competing. So I can't be like, hey, like let's just say if I went to PGA Superstore and we sell clubs and do everything here, it's like, hey, do you want to do a promotion event? They're like, no, like we're trying to put you out of business. Why would I do that? But like Stretch Lab's a different one where it's like we're, for example, we're serving the same client. They have a membership price that's around similar to ours, right? It's a little less like, and it's the idea of like their person is affluent, has disposable income, they care about their body, they're stretching. Not all of them are golfers, but there's probably a handful. And it's like, great, can we do some cross promotion and like, you know, essentially share databases, if you will, to help boost both of our company's bottom line?
Absolutely. Well, guys, we could spend an hour on that again, and sadly enough, we're already running out of time. So I want to kind of speed this up just a little bit and touch on some of the things, but it's clear to me that we're going to have to come back and get into depth. So I want to talk a little bit about something you both brought up, which is emails and how important the emailing and that whole process is. And Chris, talk a little bit about the importance of building a database, target marketing, and how effective blast emails can be.
Well, what I love about email is, other than the $19.99 a month you might pay for the MailChimp or Constant Contact or whatever the service is, it's free. And it becomes, the database of emails becomes one of your biggest assets. It means you can constantly market to them, and it can't be taken away. Meaning, if I build 100,000 followers on Instagram, Instagram changes the algorithm or changes the rules or gets sold or whatever, I lose those customers. I lose those people to talk, not customers. I lose those people to talk to. I own my email list, and that's hard to do right now with all the other marketing channels. So it becomes your biggest marketing asset, and it can be. On if I go outside of indoor golf facilities, it is the number one channel in B2B right now, because everything else is so inconsistent with what AI is disrupting, and how the media landscape is disrupted and fragmented. It is the one thing that I know is going to deliver customers in almost any industry right now, including B2C and packaged goods. So I can't stress this enough. The second you sign a lease on a space, start capturing emails, get an interest list. When you're open, think about what your content and what your offers are going to be to prospects and current members or current customers. The retention piece gets lost a lot, right? That is your number one retention tool. It can also be an acquisition tool, but it's really good to keep people around with email too.
Kyle, how do you use your database?
So to allude to Chris, if I am doing any type of marketing, but this goes back because I'm like a direct marketing guy. If I do any type of marketing, the rule is with my team, we have got to get name and email at least, ideally cell phone number. But if we cannot get name and email, I'm not doing it. Like, don't ask. So like I'm never gonna put like a sign on a tee box. It's just never gonna happen. So to the point, I want to own the customer. So if I want to do philanthropy, like I'll give money to my church, right? Or like some organization. But if I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing something to do marketing, I at bare minimum, I mean like it's a non-negotiable. You have to get name and email. Now, to the point, like I love to have the metric of like making $1 per email per month, right? So if I've got 120,000 people in a database in one of my companies, we got to be making 120 grand on that email database, right? So, but the other thing too that I'm working in, I can't get into it right now just because we don't have time, but I've been very much getting into the text marketing game. And there's some cool things that have come out, and it's basically for us here at thegolfroomeverywhere.com, at collegegolf.com, which is a consulting company we have. It's like fishing with dynamite right now. It's like cheating. So that's for another conversation. But not that the only reason I say that is because I think that when you have very personalized, intimate text messages, those have higher open rates than emails. There's also some really cool stuff that you can do with voicemail that basically has 100% open rate, which is like fishing with a nuclear bomb. That's like really cheating. So, but obviously, email, and to the point of Chris, it's really important too to continue to nurture. I kind of call them these Seinfeld email series where they're emails, they're super captivating. You like to read them. They're almost about nothing, but they deliver value, and you keep watching them at 9:15 at night before you go to sleep. So it's like, you know,
Cheating.
cheating.
Okay, guys, I think that's super. I feel guilty because there's so much more in depth we should go and we will go in the future. We talked a lot about getting not just golfers, but looking outside and getting the non-golfers. And so we're not going to cover this particular slide. I'd like one statement from both of you on what is the sign? How do you measure success? And then we're going to have to wrap this up. Kyle, how do you measure success?
I'll go first. I measure success by how well my LTV to CAC ratio is.
Okay.
So I want to know how much money my customers are spending, how long they're here, and am I driving down my marketing costs by my cost to acquire? That's me.
Chris, coming from marketing and advertising, how do you measure success?
Well, and Kyle's right. Data doesn't lie, and the lifetime value is and customer acquisition cost is the number one metric. Um, I also I want to see those reviews, and I want to see people saying very specific things about their experience and that they're coming back. I think the repeat business is probably as important as CAC and LTV, and then behind that, what people are saying about the experience, and that comes with that's certainly a Google review, but it's also just those kind of offhand comments of, "Man, I love coming to this place," or I'm hitting fairways that I didn't used to hit, or I'm hitting my 7-iron 10 yards, whatever it is. I love those kind of experiential comments or reviews, whatever you want to call them. It's just people like being in your facility, and they like being around your brand and your community.
Which is
And I will add,
that whole
It's the
engagement
flywheel.
and I'll add one more, and that is the checkbook. What's the bottom line? All
Yeah.
this is designed so that we can make a profit. Guys, I'm going to have to wrap up. There's so much more we want to talk into, and what I do promise is we're going to get back with you and go in depth in all of this. I know we just scratched the surface, and there's so much more, but I want to talk more about how do you do an event and what that looks like and get specific. But just a reminder for those of you who do not know who we are the Indoor Golf Alliance. We're here for you. We have a weekly newsletter. We're going to have these monthly webinars. We're going to be at the PGA show, and we hope that you're going to make it. If you are thinking about going to the PGA show, please let us know. We're going to have a leadership luncheon on the 22nd, which is a Thursday. All the leaders of indoor golf are going to be there, and we're excited to see if you can make it. Let us know if you're thinking about it. We also have free tickets, so reach out to me on that. And just a little announcement, gang. We've just launched. We're going to have the first international trade show and conference. It's going to be in Las Vegas, July 7th through the 9th at the Bellagio Resort and Casino. We have a whole series of education, in-depth education. We'll have exhibitors from all the major brands, and it'll just be a fun time to network and get to know other people in the industry. So we want you to start thinking about that. Save the date. We'd love to see you there. So let me just wrap up by a couple things, gang. And by the way, Bob told me to remind you to follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn. That's what Bob and Leslie want to remind you. And then also, we really want your feedback on this webinar and what we're doing with our newsletters. We can't get better without your comments. So please feel free to share with us if it's good, if it's bad, where we can improve. And so, bottom line is this, gang. I think we learned a lot today. At least I did. All right. So let's recap. Number one, marketing is important. Duh. Have a plan, have some goals, have a clear message on who you are, and know the market you're going after. Learn from others, find out experts in your area like Chris and like Kyle who can share with you some great expertise. Social media works, get into it. And be consistent. Search engine optimization. We didn't even get into that, but we will. And Google Maps is important. Special events build excitement and long-term customers. Email marketing keeps you in front of the customer on a regular basis. Partnerships with local community are key and again builds hype and long-term customers. And as both Kyle and Chris said, follow the data. So, guys, we're just so excited you could join us. We hope you have a great season. We're here for you. Please feel free to reach out. We're all part of a great industry that's going to continue to grow. And if there's anything that we can do for you, let us know. We're here to serve you. Kyle, Chris, thank you so much for your time. Look forward to catching up soon.
Thank you, Mr.
For
Phil.
having us.
All
Thank
right,
you.
guys, take
See ya.
care. Bye bye.